passwords. And so I try to keep them in a password keeper, but sometimes I've been to change the password and forgot to put it in the password keeper. So then I go to try to log in something, be like, doesn't recognize that password. Be like,
flip the table.
are you still at work, sis?
I'm not. I'm actually at my brand new studio.
All
Pew, pew,
right.
pew, pew. Fireworks going on.
Hey, and where is
I
the
am.
studio?
So I have a brand new studio. It's on Cottage Grove. It's called the Creative Room, but it's not spelled creative. It's like broken down spelling and all that fancy stuff. But it's called the Creative Room. I have an artist in residency that I just started. It's called the Wild Yams Collective, and it is for beautiful brown mother artists, which is me. So I'm really excited. It's my first studio ever, and I actually was blessed enough to have two in the same space. So everyone else has one, but I have two because I have one for my editing and my organizing, and then I actually have another one on the garden level where I can use for my indoor photography and my videography and brand new news. This hot off the presses, sis.
Okay, I'm listening.
You ready for this?
I'm ready.
It's an
ready.
Oh We Gon Talk exclusive, sis.
Let's get it. Let's hear it. Come through.
Sis, you are looking at the brand new host for Ray Neal Media WNU Ray 99.9 Jazz Station for Getting Jazzy with Miss Natalie B and Rodney G. Mondays from 7 to 9 p.m. Find it on your dial, WNU Ray 99.9, or head over to radiomedia.com. Check me out. It airs on Monday. The first show is on Monday.
I'm dancing, sis. You see me? You see me? Yes. Well, congratulations on the new news on being the new host for Natalie B. Is it with Rodney G? Did I get it right?
Getting Jazzy with Miss Natalie B and Rodney G.
I'm gonna need some beats so I can make sure we're blasting it all over all of our pages.
I will send you the flyer.
Yes.
The very first episode drops on Monday.
Whoop, whoop.
So, every Monday from 7 to 9 p.m.
7 to 9, y'all. Did y'all hear that? It's an exclusive now. She just dropped the nizzles. She just dropped the nizzles.
I haven't even posted it to my personal page yet. Brand new, y'all. This hot off the presses.
And you decided to air it here.
Yes, it's an exclusive.
I appreciate that. Thank you for sharing that on the Oh We Gon Talk exclusive. What a beautiful way to come back. Back to all of this fine, incredible news. I am super excited, super happy to hear that, sis. And thank you for airing all of that here, sharing this with everybody here. I know you all out there watching. Y'all better give it up for my sis. Yes, sis.
Thank you.
Yes, sis. Yes. Well, congratulations. We are so proud of you. I will be listening in. We will be sharing and dropping more details about the show. Remember, guys, the first show is this Monday. Yes. So that makes it the 18th, correct? Let me check.
Absolutely. The 18th.
There we go. So the 18th from 7 to 9, and we will be dropping the details on that. And so go out, turn your radios on. Turn your radios on and listen.
Turn them on.
Turn them on. Turn them on. Turn them on. So this is a perfect way to start the welcome back. So welcome back, y'all.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
I apologize. We've been on a little bit of a hiatus. Your girl just had a bunch of moving parts. We've moved. We've had so many things going on in the past few weeks. And so just getting readjusted to a new environment, still living out of boxes in some places, but I got my pop people up. That's the one.
Bro, your set almost looks exactly the same.
It's my people. I gotta, gotta have my people.
Girl, you didn't kept the consistency on us, sis. Your set door didn't look the same.
It almost looked the same, but it's gonna look different once we get all settled in. It's just we're still like when I say that moving thing is for the birds.
And surely is.
It's for the birds. Like I've used muscles I didn't know I existed anymore that I had. It's been real. It's been so real. And then your girl still works full time. I got the babies. Life has been busy. Been trying to keep up with my writing and focusing on that. So it's like your girl been out here, hustling and heaving and hoeing. So we are just glad to be back. We're going to actually have a shorter show this evening. So we're going to try to narrow it back down to about the hour and a half. Some of our topics will spill over into those 2-hour marks. But I think that it becomes hard for people to stay with us on a Wednesday all the way for those 2 hours. And yes, you can come back and listen later, but we want to try and make sure that we're bringing it down just a bit and keeping y'all with us. Because I know that Wednesday hump day, y'all be tired, don't y'all?
We be chatting, okay?
We be chatting, girl. And we look up, it be late. I've been late. It's like, something's gonna have to give because your girl trying to get her healthy back on, So I'm just glad to be.
Hold on. Don't be rushing over there. Come on. Come on. Yeah. Prioritizing self.
Yes, it's super important. We're gonna have to do a whole we gonna talk self-care because that is definitely something that I think as Black people, especially as Black women, that's one of the first things to go. When we like something must give, I don't know why we think that's supposed to be self-care, but we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna get on that.
Talk about it.
Oh, we're gonna talk about that today.
Sis,
go ahead.
You gonna have to come on over here to WNU Ray 99.9 and hop on Getting Jazzy. Right. Are you aware of this?
I hope to. I better.
Okay. Because we're gonna have to talk about. We're gonna talk on Getting Jazzy. All right.
Because we have so much to talk about. Just know that even if we're not going live, your girl is plotting, planning, and just really trying to get her ducks in a row because we gonna talk is just the seed. It's supposed to be a whole field of growth, and so it's time to really pour into it will be a whole field of growth. There we go. It's really just time to, focus and pour into my baby and get my baby to grow and just reprioritize. And so just know that even if you ain't seeing my face, I've been behind the scenes plotting and planning, and there's more to come. There's better, we gonna talk to come. But this conversation in particular, we really, really need to have. And it's so interesting because as I was thinking about having this particular show, I came across a meme that someone posted. It wasn't a meme. It was just a post that somebody shared. And it said, generational curses are much more than just wealth and having money. It's also elders dictating people's paths. And it talked about all the other ways that we overlook generational curses. And I said, that's a whole mouthful because I don't think we realize that is absolutely a generational curse, and that sometimes we allow our elders to disrespect us because we want to respect our elders. Sometimes we allow them to tell us what things they feel is best for us and tell us what their expectations for our lives are. And so I think that's a huge divide that comes in between us communicating from generation to generation. And I want to change that because learning from each other and keeping connected is truly one of the most important ways for us to do better, for us to grow, for us to make changes. We can't make that change without communicating with one another. So how do we get that back? How do we learn to talk to our ancestors, our elders, have them also talk to us?
But our ancestors too.
Well, our ancestors, true, but that's
talk to them as well. That's a different topic, though. That's another show. You're right.
That's another show. We gonna talk about that as well. But how are we gonna get that communication started again, because I'm very concerned about the fact that it's such a gap and divide. And a big part of it is because we ain't always respected by elders. Like, we supposed to respect you, but we're not always giving that same energy back. And it's under the guise of, well, I'm your elder, I have the right. But no, you don't. It's another form of adultism. And so we're going to talk about that tonight. So, sis, what
Yes.
are your points before I go ahead and give my thoughts? Because I have tons of thoughts. This is actually a
You
conversation.
like, go ahead and get yours out the way
Look,
before I
go
say
ahead and get
something
yours
the
out
rest
the
of
way.
the
Because this is actually a conversation I have with my own mom a lot. Just in my story of becoming a parent. So when I became a parent, I wasn't, real young. I was 23. But I can just remember, my mom telling me she knew what was best and undermining me at times, and, just doing things her way. And I had to be like, listen now, these are my children.
Mhm.
I want to raise them in this way. These are the things I want to teach my children. These are the type of rapport I want to have with my kids. And I need you to back off. And I know that in itself
But
is
that's necessary sometimes.
that's
I'm
necessary.
not even gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna say sometimes. Um, because there are moments where we do need to listen to our elders. There
There
are moments where we need their guidance. Okay, I don't know if y'all parents out there, but sometimes we like, please tell me something. Okay,
right.
but then there's other times where it's like, no, I'm doing this differently, and you're just gonna have to be okay with that. And I can say one thing with me and my mom is that I think we found a nice dance and balance of the two, because she's definitely opinionated, when it comes to life, me as an adult,
Mhm.
my baby, and everything else. And I love that. I love and welcome her wisdom. But there's also some things that she just don't understand, and even some of the things that she just does not understand, she still appreciates,
Right.
which creates that mutual respect and that balance. And that's what I really love. So that's actually how a part of how A Mother's Love came to be. The Mother's Love talk show. She had, the brain epiphany and message from the creator to do it. And so I offered to do it with her because we have such a good balance. And I live with my mother. For those of you who don't know that, we live together. So if you think it's hard from every other weekend or across the way, or I live with my
Yeah.
24.
I've been there. I've been that
Uh,
child.
I know you wrote that book, okay?
I've
You
been
wrote it.
there.
You wrote it twice, okay?
Listen.
Listen. So, but one thing I would say about that is that ego has to move out of the way for the parent, but like the elder in the situation, and then also for that younger parent, that new parent or new adult, if you're not a parent, because it still happens even if you don't got no kids. The ego has to move out the way on both parts. And I like to say, when certain things happen in my life, I look at it from an aerial view, right? So I'm not in the midst of it, which is where you get in the midst of your feelings. I'm looking at the whole picture, her feelings, my feelings, and vice versa. And so it's sometimes she may say some things, and my immediate reaction is like, "Girl, if you don't get your," yeah,
Facts.
you know
Facts.
what I'm saying? But then I gotta go up. I gotta get out of it, and I gotta go up. And I'm like, all right, let me think this through. Okay, you know what? She might be saying this because of this, and really looking at that situation, and then go, oh, you know what? That's actually helpful because of this. Let me get out my feelings and actually listen to what's happening here, and how I can benefit from it. And then there's other moments where, like you said, you gotta put your foot down. And I tell her like, not meant for you to understand. You're just not gonna get it, and that's all right. That's
That's okay.
okay. That's
That's
all
okay.
right. And
Listen.
mostly with us, it's food.
Mhm.
For it is. I'm gonna be honest. I know some people be having like
Is it
big
because
issues
is
listening
your
to us.
mom vegan as well?
She's
Because I know
not.
you're alkaline
She's
vegan,
she's
especially. So
not.
that's
It's the
even
alkaline part for her.
ah, ah,
Like,
okay.
so when my mom was one of my biggest supporters when I went vegan. Not like, "Woo, yes, please stop eating that meat." It was more so like, "Okay, you're not doing this. Let me shift." Her and Carlisa, my sister, like they would cook the Thanksgiving meals. They would make me a separate Udea. Like she was making mushroom tacos every time I came home. So like that was amazing. Like, I know everybody, mama ain't doing that. Okay. So I was really blessed to have that support. Now, I recently went alkaline vegan, and that she is just like,
Okay. Like, look,
she
I
be
was with
talking on the
you.
phone to my auntie down south, like she just don't eat nothing. I'm like, I eat well and I eat often. So, you know, a
It's
lot of
more of a it's more strategic to be alkaline, I
things.
think.
Very,
And so I
very.
think that's why it feels like your options are limited, because when you're alkaline vegan, that it's not just the meat and no animal products. Like, it's so much deeper than that. You can
Like
only eat
some
certain
vegetables
things,
ain't
certain
even,
vegetables,
no
certain
sugars.
look,
No, a lot of the flours are off limits.
listen,
Like you can't
and
do
bless your
regular flour with
ministry
no
on that.
rice.
Because I'm still struggling with the
Potato.
meat part. Listen, see, I could
I know.
probably
I said that initially because I'm like, you love potato.
I could never imagine being alkaline vegan for that point only, because I have barely ever met a potato I didn't like. Okay. Like,
Barely.
ever. Potatoes and pasta, like, more than
See,
sugar,
and
more than
pasta is
anything.
my jam. Pasta is my
But,
jam. And so what really I had to learn how to do was to, and this is what really helped me. I had to take the things that was our staples. Pasta is my fave. So pasta was a staple. Another thing, my mom loved rice. So my baby been for the first 2 years of his life, you ain't never met a child like man and be like, Grandma, I want some rice and beans and cornbread.
uh,
Listen,
my child, maybe not the beans, but Kyron, he would eat rice every single day.
he
It,
loves beans, rice and
listen,
beans and cornbread, honey. He would eat it every day.
okay.
Okay. And so none of that is alkaline. The rice ain't alkaline, the beans ain't alkaline, and the cornbread ain't either. Okay.
Wait a minute now. You got to give up beans?
Ain't none of that alkaline unless you're talking about some chickpeas. You could definitely have some chickpeas. Okay.
But,
Um,
but beans? No black eyed peas, no pinto beans, no. Okay.
They not alkaline, and that's where it comes in. Cause she's like, she was cool with the vegan, cause she like, I'm gonna cook these grains, I'm gonna cook these beans, I'm gonna cook this rice with cornbread. You still can eat it. It's a little margarine, it ain't no butter in there. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
she was there. Now it's so specific that she's like, you can eat that, and I'm like, but I can. I'm alkaline. That's not alkaline, and so that's her thing. Every time I say that's not alkaline, she be like, you don't eat nothing. And so for Jaleel, he grew up again the first 2 years of his life. I know he ain't like 13 or nothing, but the first 2 years of his life, they would be in there snacking together. Eat, and she, I've always been like, no chips and candy and stuff, but he know what a snack's at. It's in grandma room. So, he going in there, get crackers. They love crackers. He loved crackers because she loved crackers. And crackers ain't alkaline. We not doing that no more. And she just like, oh, he can have it. I'm like, but no, he can't.
It's a little bad. Let my grand, and that honestly, so I don't want to skip over that, because that was honestly one of the biggest things that or issues I had when I stayed at home. So when I had my children, they came home to the house with my parents. And it's always interesting to watch grandparents become grandparents, because my daughter was the first on both sides. And
Oh, you got it honest.
from the moment this little girl was bounced into this household, I did not know my parents anymore. Like, I did not know these people. And so they were very flexible for things like, if I had thought about ice cream, okay, early in the morning, my mother would have went inside my brain and snatched all those thoughts out. Okay, like, you got to go. But
Immediately.
you can't even immediately see the exit. And for my daughter, it was just a very different experience. But I think what I struggle the most with, like even now with my mom, is becoming more self-aware and healing from some of the traumas that I had as a kid, as an adult. And when you start looking back and you are healing, you're in your healing journey. And then also it was very I would say getting deeper into my professional education process, going to get my master's, especially when you start really diving into psychology and you start really learning about trauma and how trauma works. We had, Renee come on one night not too long ago where she talked about hypnotism and how it pulls out some of those repressed things, those repressed traumas that affect us day to day. So when you really start understanding behavior, you start understanding how you react to stuff and triggers and all of that stuff, it just really puts child rearing under a different lens. And so even now, me and my mom have very different ideas of what worked. I wonder if anybody else have this idea or have this issue with their parents. And for my mom, she constantly says stuff like, well, it worked for you. And they'd be
But
like,
did it
but
though?
actually, no, it didn't. It really
It
didn't.
didn't though.
What it did do was it
And that's the
affected me
same
as
thing with the food. She'd be like, well, you ate it. And I was like, well, yeah, now I know better. When you know better, you're supposed to do better, right?
you're supposed to do better. And I think that that's one of the hugest challenges in making sure elders are respecting us as adults and making sure they're respecting what paths we choose. The idea and what parents have always said, I know I've grown up hearing my parents say, I want to see you do better than I did. I want you to learn from my mistakes. Don't make the same mistakes that I made. Or I struggled so you didn't have to struggle, so that I can give you more advantages. So when we're operating in that respect, I think elders still have a hard time because although they want that for us, if it goes against what they're most comfortable with or what they know or what they felt
Yeah.
like was influential in their lives, they have a hard time looking past that. And having elders respect that is really truly why a lot of kids aren't respecting elders as much. It's building a hate almost between the generations where it's this constant tug of war, and we need to change that because we need each other. There's a lot of wisdom that we can get from elders and that we need to pass down for generations to come. But I feel like the issue in it is that elders don't know how to draw the line or account for the boundaries, because I do need to have those boundaries with you as an elder. And so I think it's super important that we have that conversation, and I really hope that there are some elders that are going to come across this show, because I want them to hear it from a different way and not the I'm angry, I've had enough of your stuff now, when you're constantly telling me what to do or bossing me around, so now I'm angry setting my boundary. And hear it from a more loving, more conscious perspective that it's got to stop. It's disrespectful to a point. And just because you're my elder, it doesn't mean that you have the passage to disrespect me, to belittle me, to be condescending,
Mhm.
to use adult to be, adultism is real, even more so than just the kid to adults. But that you don't get to do that to me because you feel like your way was the best way. And then it's even harder for them to grasp that perspective when you come with facts, where you be like, because I have this back and forth with my mom. We were just having this conversation about spankings, and I don't spank my kids. I haven't needed to spank my kids. um I just don't agree with it. And I know a lot of people feel differently. I've heard even some of my friend circles be like, hey, it's necessary for that's what's wrong with the kids. I don't really think that that's
But that's just because
100%
a lot
that's
of
what's
times
wrong
that's what
with
we
kids.
taught.
That's what
That's
we
what's been
taught.
passed down.
Listen, and I don't have to spank my kids. I'm not saying my kids are perfect, but they are pretty good, upstanding kids. And I can get on their case about something, or I find other ways to show consequences and reinforcements, and I don't have to put hands on my kid. And so I just don't agree with it. And my mom is still old school. She's like, but every now and again, you just gotta to put a kid in their place. And I said, what makes you think that actually put a kid in their place? And I said, well, let's look at it from a different perspective. At some point, spankings don't hurt anymore, so they become
And they
less.
prefer that versus punishment when
How
taking
many
something
of
away.
y'all watching this show has ever had your parent give you the option of a punishment or a spanking? If you had that happen where they like, hey, you can get the spanking or you can be grounded for 2 weeks, What are you
Goodness
more than like?
gracious. I got plans next week.
Your butt gonna sting for a good 5-10 minutes, and then you're gonna be back on to the next thing or whatever you was planning on doing, right? And so really it doesn't have the effect that parents think that it did. And what I think it only did is it reinforced and it absolutely encouraged secrecy. So there were a lot of kids that probably literally need to come and talk to their parents about stuff and didn't, because they were more worried about the physical consequences, right? Opposed to that they were actually in danger and needed the help. And so I think that especially our elders, like most of our parents, from the 60s, etc., grew up in the
But
60s,
you
70s.
know me though, sis. I
Go ahead,
got
I'm
to
listening.
take it back. You know me.
Go on
If
and
we
take it
gonna
back.
talk, we gotta
It's,
we
it's
gotta
so
talk.
it's so much more than just that. I know you hit
We
into the slavery
we
tactic,
you know
but
I'm going back to
I know
slavery.
you're
All
going
roots
back.
back, sis.
I'm
I'm
gonna
talking about I ain't new.
let you
I
have
stay
it.
on the same train. I stay on the same train.
I'm gonna let you have it, gone, sis.
Like, if we look at it, why do we think beating someone into proper behavior is okay? Because that's what they did to us in slavery, and that's what was taught. And if we knew nothing else, and all of our other practices and policies as far as relations to raising our children or rearing households and families were wiped away, then we are taking on the traits that they gave us, and then we start to perpetuate that through the generations, thus generational curses. Thus we are where we are today, where we think slapping a kid in the mouth or beating them down the street or embarrassing them into change is going to do something, because that is exactly what the slave masters did to us when we didn't do what they wanted us to do. And so it's perpetuated through the generations, so much so, like so many other things and generational curses, that now is normalized and we think that's okay. So when someone tries to do something other than that, like, hey, you know what, I think I'm gonna have a conversation with my kid, I think we're gonna break down the issue and see what's really happening here so we can get to the root of the problem. What? If you don't just get a belt?
I'm gonna do you better. Growing up, we heard that was white people stuff.
Oh yeah. Like therapy and so many other things.
That, talking about what's going on, talking about why you're behaving in such a way is white people stuff, not human stuff, not
White people,
psychological
because
stuff.
they have the luxury.
They have, and it was always this, nah, you're gonna get this work and then you're gonna behave. And it didn't really work. I mean, if we really, really look at the state of where we are with things, if we really look at the things that people were getting beat for back in those days, it didn't work. It didn't work. The only thing it did was make the gap between communication and trust and bond between the generations bigger and bigger. And so there has to be a different way. And so one of the conversations that I recently had with my mom, just like, okay, I was going into so let's look at it from a different perspective. What things that you feel like that, whoopings actually, what behaviors do you feel like whoopings deterred? And so she started naming some things that she felt like whoopings deterred. And I said, that's not true, because I know and I seen for myself several of my friends still doing those things, just doing it secretly. And there's doing it
Right. They
even
still
more
gonna do it.
so
They
now.
just gonna make sure you don't find out about it.
That's it. And I said, do you know what had the most lasting impression on me when I was growing up as a kid was your disappointment. Not that you gonna put me on punishment, not that you might beat the brakes off me. It was, if I disappoint my parents, because I had a level of respect for the way you saw me, how you felt about me. I wanted to make you all proud of me as your daughter. So it was super important for me not to lose that. I didn't want to disappoint my parents. And the disappointment factor had way more influence over my behavior than me being worried about a punishment. Girl, I done been grounded for a whole year before, and still it didn't change a thing, okay?
No, I'm still gonna do what I
And
want to do.
you still gonna do it. And so what I've learned, and not just being a parent, and taking a look and looking back at the things that affected me as a kid into, an adult, and my adult behavior, how I interact with my own trauma, like all of that. When I'm looking back on that and I'm dealing with my own kids, I've gotten so much further. So like even earlier today, my baby girl was in a mood and she was like, their mouth was, it was ratchet. I was just like, now, I'm gonna be honest now.
Reach out and touch.
I was just about to say that these teenagers will take you there. Like you look up and you'll be like, okay, wait a minute. It's a couple times I told Robert one day, I was like, I I don't I'm supposed to fight. I think I'm supposed to fight now, right? Like that's
You be ready to break a nail.
I said, if we were in the street and somebody approached me like that, I think we would scrap, right? So we supposed to fight. And he'd be like, yeah, she tried you, right? So
he ain't making it no better. She tried you.
She tried you. She came for you. So they do really truly push your limits, right? When you literally are gonna reach out and touch a kid. But then I have to readjust. So then I'm like, okay. So then I said, what's wrong? I don't know what's wrong. I said, I believe that because sometimes I be in a space and I don't know what's wrong. I be anxious. I be frustrated. I can't really tell what it is and why I feel the way I feel. I said, sometimes I need a nap. Sometimes I need a glass of wine. Sometimes I just need to sit and be still. So I said, baby, what's wrong? I don't know what's wrong. I said, okay, well, let's talk. So I started asking her things. And then we got somewhere with that. And these kids be going through so many emotions. They be having so much on their mind. This idea that kids are not having experiences that are taxing for their mental health, their emotional health, is a narrative we need to push out. We need to stop believing that.
And that's adultism at its finest, because the thing is can you stop and think for 2 whole seconds? And that's pretty sure that's all you need. And remember when you were that age. What were you going through? And then multiply that, because these kids are going through more than I was even thinking about at their age.
And you know what the biggest thing, hold on. But you know what the biggest thing was that I was going through at that age, when my parents thought I was being mouthy, when I thought that they were, when they thought I was just being unruly and disrespectful. I was going through being bullied. Mm-hmm. I was going through being violated when I shouldn't be. I was going through feeling misunderstood. I was going through feeling like I couldn't talk to my parents about certain things because either they weren't going to understand, or they were going to be judgmental, or they were going to be angry. So I was going around like harboring all these emotions, all of this stuff, all of the low self-esteem, all of the feeling unworthy. I have an extraordinary older sibling who was like the golden child throughout all of our family, and just not measuring up and feeling like nothing I did was good enough. Going through kind of how, our society uplifts our boys and kind of like pressures our girls into certain things. Going through that and trying to find my own way, trying to understand who I am and why I am the way that I am. And then not having guidance on that because I felt like I couldn't talk to anybody about it. So you get angry. As an adult, what happens when you have to repress your feelings? What happens at work when you're not getting credit for something that you did, or your boss is coming down on you on something that they shouldn't, or you're trying to make a difference and you can't? It's frustrating. It's taxing.
On top of the fact that with young people, their brains aren't fully developed. They don't fully have the life experience or the capacity to understand a lot of the things or feelings that's happening with them. It's a whole lot of components to that. Like, so imagine you as an adult feeling this way, and then a child being probably confused and not really being able to comprehend the different things that's happening with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that that's a super important thing that we need to kind of release if we're going to get back on one accord, if we're going to actually progress as a community. We got to let that go. Like, yes, back to your point earlier, having humility and understanding, like, our elders have some wisdom. They got some things, like, in hindsight, when I think back on conversations that I've had with my grandmothers, and I've had some amazing, intelligent, wisdom grandmothers. My grandfather, the only granddad I ever had, we used to laugh, me and my brother and my cousins, we would be like, Granddaddy gets to drinking his beer, he'd be talking about, we don't know what he talking about. But then I remember sitting here one day in adulthood and thinking like, man, granddaddy was dropping knowledge, and here we are, kids. We couldn't process what he was talking about at that time. To us, it just seemed like he on that beer again. He been drinking them Miller Lights, and granddad that
Because we
old
didn't even
style,
know
like
how to
he
think
like his
that.
old style. Ah, granddaddy drunk. Like we ain't paying no attention to him, but no, he was telling us the rules. He was really giving us some amazing insight, some amazing wisdom, and because we weren't developed enough to understand what he was talking on at that time. But as an adult,
Or even just experienced enough.
I
Yeah.
experienced enough, and I hear all of them now, even my own mom. Like, it's been plenty of times where, especially when I was closer, I used to live around the corner from my parents. One day, them kids they had me in a way where I was like, my parents did not kill me when they were. I've got to thank them. Like one day, I was so
Praise
articulate.
God. I
I
made it.
literally, let me tell you, I drove around the corner, rang the bell. I have a key, but I rang the bell. I said, I ain't staying. I just want to tell y'all, thank y'all for not killing me. I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Y'all is fine. Y'all is wise. Y'all is important. I'm going home now. I just wanted to tell you that because they do
Man,
make.
I say that all the time because kids are hard. I was joking one day, but at the same time, serious. I was like, child abuse is just dead wrong. Okay, I do not stand by child abuse at all. But it's hard not to abuse these children. So we should be celebrating. We should be celebrating the parents who are not abusing their children.
That who just ain't trying to give them an adjustment, like chin check them a little bit,
Right. We should be like having parades for all the parents who ain't just hauled off and chin
it's a
check their kids.
task. It's a task. I'm telling you, it really does require adjustment. It requires enlightenment. It requires
A
education.
whole
And
lot.
so I'm not looking down on any parent that feels like that's necessary to their kids. Like that's not what this is about. We're not here to shame you, as long as it is not abuse, because I am a mandated reporter now. I'm gonna put that out there. But as long as it's not abuse, you have the right to rear your children in the best way that you see fit, as long as it's not an abusive situation. So this is not what this conversation is about when we're talking about disciplinary action anymore. Like we're not bashing anyone. I'm just saying that I want us as a community to not resort to that first and to not automatically assume that that's what's required to have behavioral adjustments, to have our kids go on a straight and narrow path. It's not the first tool in our toolbox that we have. Sometimes we need to be open to listen, and sometimes we need to kind of dig deep and see what's happening, because a lot of kids are the way that they are acting out of trauma. They're acting out of pain. They're acting out of feeling lost, feeling unaccepted, feeling rejected, feeling unloved, feeling neglected. And so it's not always this disrespect that we automatically go to and say, oh, they just disrespectful. They're
And see,
actually.
that's that aerial view again. Like a lot of the times, and I gotta check myself. That little 3-year-old,
That's a
honey.
man, girl.
Okay, maybe a grown man. He done been here several times. Okay, listen,
It's fifth go round.
listen. You hear me talking to you, and so like I have to monitor the way I respond to him, especially depending on what I'm doing. We get so focused on what we're doing that we respond based off that we're not considering what they're trying to say sometimes, what's going on, what might have happened before they're coming to talk to you, especially when I'm in work mode. And Lord, working from home is more than a notion. Okay. So I'm sending listen, I'm on phone calls, I'm sending emails, I'm look, Uvu and Skype and all types of stuff,
So,
right?
but see, at least you got a 3-year-old. I got 11 and teenager, and they're still working, doing school from home remote because Kyron is vulnerable. And I swear, I be mid presentation, and I have a kid in here, mommy, and I'm like, mommy, and it's like, okay. As soon as I get a chance to mute, I'm like, what is it? I'm on break. Really?
You just have to tell me that. Like, and
Really?
that's the thing. But then, like you said, when you know better and you know how reacting to them a certain way could leave scars or triggers or things they would have to heal from, I have to check myself constantly because I had to realize, I was like, well, why do I get like this? And I was like, I had to think back. That's just always when I'm in work mode, I'm in work mode. And so in moments like those, I have to be able to shift myself because it's not his fault. I have to be able to shift myself and be like, okay, I know this is a thing for me. When I'm in work mode, I don't want to be talked to. I don't want to be bothered. I'm here, I'm focused.
Yeah.
And so I have to shift my mindset now in the way that I move because now he is there. He has no other choice but to be right next to me because this is the only space we got. I'm not going into the office all the time, And so when I'm working from home, he's there. And so I have to be more lenient and I have to loosen up. And I realized I was just too stiff with him. He's still a child. And even with older kids, like my niece and nephew, I remember this was years ago, but as they were growing, they were like 10 and whatever ages they were. And like I pulled over one day. Actually, I didn't pull over, my car stopped. Someone was running my battery or something. And my car stopped on the side of the road. They were in the car with me. And instead of just being like, damn, your car stopped, it was a nice day. I was like, we stopped right next to a field. I was like, y'all want to go over there and play tag or something? And like my nephew, he was the younger one. And he just kind of looked at me like, you for real? And I'm like, yeah, come on, let's go over there and play tag until, your uncle come and give us a jump. And they were like,
Yes. Sis, I think we frozen. And I'm not sure if it's me frozen or Nat is frozen. I think we lost Nat. So we're going to give her a second to come back, see if she can jump back in. I hear Mercury is still in retrograde, y'all. I don't know a whole lot about the Mercury retrograde, but I hear that it causes all types of issues. So we still in the retrograde period. So come through now, Mercury. We just need you to cut it out. Now we back. We need you to chill. We need you to behave and let my sis come back on to the platform. Okay. We're gonna need Mercury to get some act right and start behaving. But I'm seeing y'all in these comments. I'm gonna go ahead and read the long comments. I see Evangelist Sharon Jackson. Hey, and she says, absolutely not give up power or level of respect, but to allow y'all to make your own mistakes, tell y'all, and as you said, trust y'all to make the right decisions. Definitely when you get of age, release y'all when you get out of the house. I'm going to continue reading that. And I agree with that because we do need y'all to trust in us with that. I see I got my Anika. Hey, Anika. She said, when we have to stop looking at our children like they are our personal property, this is why so many elders can't understand why they can't be in charge anymore because they used to having control over their property. Respect for elders does not equal allowing them to have power and control. And I think that that's a real important part that I wanted to talk about. So hopefully Nat will rejoin us in a bit and really addressing that because yes, I know I joke with my kids sometimes when they're like, who can I speak to about what you're doing? And I'll be like, I got papers on you. Let me go get this birth certificate. It says you belong to me. And I think having that idea of that kids are our property, like you said, Anika, is a big, large factor in why elders can't release. And they still, even if you grown, even if you out on your own, you're raising your own family, feeling like they have some say-so or governing over your decisions. And this was a generational curse that was difficult for me to break and to get out of, especially from underneath my mom, because I just really just wanted to make my mom proud. And so everything I did, though, I would always second guess myself, like, is she going to be mad? Is this okay? Like, what is she gonna think of this? And I'm a whole grown married parent, wife, professional, and I still had that in the back of my mind about her approval. And so what we don't realize is that not having that elder respect, always feeling like we have to have their approval, or pushing back that we don't, them not allowing us the space to grow into our own thoughts, go into our own paths, really is making or widening the gap between our communication. It's stopping us from being able to relate to each other. And that is one of the biggest generational curses that I hope to break. I want my kids to know that I'm going to guide you. I'm your guidance here. I'm not your master. I'm not your property owner. I'm your mother, and I'm here to be your guide and try to give you as much guidance as I can, as much tutelage as I can, and just help you figure it out on your own, and just be here to support you in that mission, because it's hard, and that's never going to end. Even when you're an adult, you're still trying to figure it out. You're still trying to find your way. And if we could have support from our elders, acceptance from our elders in that path, in that journey, just imagine how much more better things will get for the next generation to come, for us moving on. So I'm thinking, like, my sis, she say her laptop done died on her, y'all. I mean, the laptop done died on her. So I don't know if she'll be able to rejoin us. And so she's coming back in now. She said it turned off on her. She should be rejoining us so we can keep this conversation going. But I want to hear from y'all while we wait for Nat to come back. What are some ways that you all felt like elders were still dictating your path? What are some of the struggles that you all had with some of your elders? And we got my sis back. I was trying to hold down the fort. I was in here talking to myself. But I see we got people out there listening.
My laptop just whole cut completely off. I was like, you did?
There is the Mercury, y'all. I'm not real familiar with retrogrades and alignments in the universe. I'm trying to learn more, because apparently this stuff is real, right?
It's
but
real.
Apparently the Mercury is in the. I keep saying the Mercury. Mercury is in
the
retrograde.
Mercury is in the retrograde.
Like, I know I'm getting old because I'm starting to sound like Medea.
That Mercury is retrograding. Okay.
The Mercury is retching around everything. It's retching around and
it's
retching everything off. It's making everything ratchet. I just can't.
Is it ratchet or is it ratchet?
When you get to a certain age, retch, when you get to a certain age, retch has at least 18 different meanings. You can retch it off. You can retch around. It's retching everything. It's making everything retching. It has about 18 different meanings. But I asked a question about some of the ways in which the people watching us today, our audience watching us, that they're still fighting that generational curse of elder control. Because I was reading the comments and reading Anika's comment, and she was talking about, she brought up a really important uh, example, and I was like, it's so true. And I was sharing with everybody about how that was really one of the issues that I struggled with as an adult, is allowing myself the space to have to make decisions and not feeling like I needed my mother's approval, even though I'm extra grown, ain't in a house, I'm married. Like, at one point, it was like, what is my mom gonna think? Before, I was worried about what's my husband gonna think. It was like, what's my mom gonna think? And she's gonna think I'm making mistakes and I'm messing up. And so what Anika was saying is that, our elders need to stop treating us like property. We're not their personal property because we're their kids. And that they need to allow us to have the space to find our own paths, and not trying to have this power and control over, or this autonomy over our decisions, especially when we become adults. So what's your thoughts on that, sis? Since you finally came back to us.
I had to make my way back.
Way back home.
Welcome back to the fold. I think that's a really great statement. And I find myself surrounded by elders all the time. I'm typically the youngest person in every room that I'm in, to be honest, unless I'm teaching. Then I'd be like, haha, I'm older than y'all. But for me, and even in talking to the really dope elders I have, the blessed Rasha to be around. I love them all because I have some really amazing elders in my life. We have these conversations and we talk about the amazing information and wisdom that elders have, and the capability and the same amount of information in a different way and technique in a different way that young people have, and how we need both of those things to come together to truly move forward in the path that we need to go down, where we don't have to keep reinventing the wheel. We can just pick up from where our elders left off, add some hubcaps or some rims on that thing and keep it moving. Okay. And that's what it should be. But the disconnect is also a product of the system. That would be too much like right and have us too far advanced if we didn't have this disconnect. But to the original point, that was in my mind when you were talking, but to the original question that you offer, how do I feel about elders relinquishing control? One, again, it's a generational curse. So when we look at how our elders held control over our parents, and then how our parents held control over us, I feel like when we say they need to, a lot of times their time has passed. They're still your parents. They're still here on this plane. So, of course, they can always shift, but you can't all the time change a grown person's mind. You can lead them to the water, but you can't make them drink the water. I think at that point, our steps is to take a good look at ourselves and say, okay, if you are a parent, how am I parenting, and what traits am I bringing over to me and my child's relationship that I picked up from my mother? And if you don't have children, evaluate it early, which is even better, so that you don't bring those characteristics and traits over into your
think
relationship.
it's kind of hard, though. I will say that before I became a parent, I had an idea of the parent I thought I would be. And a large part of that was due to trying to be in tune with how my parents did things and how it affected me as an adult. But it wasn't until I actually became a parent myself and I was actually doing the work that I had to step back and realize, like, why do I do this way? Why? I don't really like it. I don't really agree with it. It's not really, getting the results that I want. So why am I really doing it? And when I started to ask myself that question and make the connection between just repeating what I learned, well, this is what my parents did. And not having a real authentic reasoning outside of that, just that, well, this is what my parents did. And I think I turned out okay. How many of us have said that to ourselves or have had someone else say that to us? Well, I did this and look how you turned out. And that was one of the most humbling things, honestly, for me, was realizing that I'm not really as great as it may seem that I am. What I really am is just a very high functioning adult. I'm high functioning, but I'm not healthy. I wasn't sure of myself. Sometimes we don't recognize how repeating some of the things that our parents do actually beats out the spirits in our kids. Like we take their high spirits away, right? We
Now,
actually
see, that's exactly what I was talking about right before my whole computer shut down. That's exactly the point I was getting at. My son has so much light in him, and he has so much energy, and he has so much joy. I got to check myself. Of course, I want him to just sit down. Of course I do. Of course I want him to be quiet while I'm on the phone. Of course I do. And that old school, again, me and my mother being in the same house, it's the two variations, because he jumps on the couch. And my mama grew up old school with her mama Mary now. And you bet not.
Nobody's couch.
Oh, you even thought about thinking about jumping on the couch. She would have just thought and slapped out you. You feel me? Grandma didn't play that. You feel me? So you didn't even think about thought about jumping on the couch. Okay?
Never.
But
they don't on it too hard. You better sit on the plastic.
You had to hit it with the.
You had to make sure you sat on the plastic. You better fix the plastic. Or that plastic runner that used to be on the carpet from the door to the hallway.
The one that had the spikes on the bottom, so if that thing flipped over,
and don't kick it. Don't kick it and it get all messed up. You better fix that. You better go back and
you
fix
hear me
that.
talking to you. So he's been in quarantine for 2 out of the 3 years of his life.
Facts.
What else is he gonna play and jump?
Mm-hmm.
So he jumps on the bed. She like, oh, hi, sit down, and I'm like, let that boy jump on the bed, let him jump. If he fall, he'll be all right, he'll get up, he'll crawl his
Fell
way
down
up,
and bumped his head. The
you
mama
know.
called the doctor. The doctor
The
said,
doctor said, get your butt up. Like, you know, I'm gonna see you got any scrapes and bruises. You okay? Yeah, I'm okay. All right. You either gonna not jump or you gonna jump again, and that's gonna be your choice. Either way, And so though that's the two different things too, because I don't want to stifle his joy based on the structure I want to have in place. Now I get where back in the day we'd be like, that's that white folk stuff. That's why the white kids be cussing their parents out. We had those conversations, okay? We all did, all right, and we still
all
do.
the
I
time.
still do, because some of them things need to be discussed, and them kids be cussing their parents out, and that wouldn't be mad. I'm just gonna say that. But at the same time, how much of their childhood are you taking away from them by trying to make them so streamlined? And so I have to constantly remind myself that, yeah, I gotta send this email or make this phone call or get this paper typed or whatever I'm doing. But that ain't got nothing to do with him. He just want to be 3 and he just want to
He
play.
is 3. That's
Right. And
it.
he just want to talk to his mom right now and he want attention. And there's nothing wrong with that. And I think with the way society is set up and the way it kind of has been, because back in the day, baby, you had to be kept in order back in the day. Okay.
Listen, especially if you was going outside someplace. How many of y'all had that conversation going to the store? Don't ask for nothing, don't touch nothing,
Don't
don't
look
do
at
this,
nothing.
don't look at
Don't
nothing.
breathe too hard.
Don't, I have to with my kids. I got to a point where we were in a store once and they picked up something and broke it. And that was a no for us. Let me go to the store and break something and my parents didn't intend to pay for it. But now I'll be like, they shouldn't have been paying for it even then, because all them stores did was go and say that they have insurance, they can send that stuff back and get their money back for it and stuff. So when my kid broke it, I just said, well, pick it up. Now, was I mad because I didn't want them touching stuff and just breaking things at random? Yes. So we had a very clear talking to about that. However, I let it go after that, because you know what happened? That person took that thing, put it in the return cart, and they got their money back for it. And I didn't have to pay a cent. But what do you do when that happens and you cuss your kid out? When you grade them?
This is where, in those moments, is where we're molding their minds to how they're going to react to themselves. And we've said it before on the show, we become their inner voices. So in a moment of a mistake, of an accident, of them being a child and wanting to play with the ooh shiny, okay?
I just want to see it up close.
Right. It's a toy, I want to touch it. That's what kids want to do when they see toys. In those moments, if a freak out happens and it's like, oh, doggone well, you weren't supposed to, you're embarrassing them in public. They made a mistake. They probably clearly didn't mean to break it. So they're already feeling some type of way because they know they weren't supposed to be touching it and they broke it. And so that makes them feel worse. And you're doing this in front of other people. And so when they make a mistake in the future, they're not going to, want to tell you, because you're reacting this way and they don't want that reaction. So most time, when they make a mistake in the future, they're going to keep it to themselves and that can turn into something bigger.
And you hold on to that, because that also still applies even as adults. So how many people I've heard plenty of times, and there have been times where I've been so angry with my mom where it was like, I need to just not talk to her for a bit. How many relationships have faltered, have fallen apart, have been disrupted from parents to children because when, as an adult, you make a mistake or you do something that maybe didn't turn out the way that you were hoping for it to turn out. And so your elders made you feel so bad about it. They made you feel so horrible. You didn't want to have the shame of making the mistake, so you just kept yourself distant. That same thing applies even in adulthood, where there are so many adult children that are not having safe or complete relationships with their parents, that they have to deal or have distance with their parents because of that fear of being judged, that fear of being condescended to because you've made some, some mistakes. I don't even like to necessarily call them mistakes. Maybe you just made some error in decisions that you realize that wasn't in the best interest in hindsight. All of us have done it. Our elders have done it. We have
Everybody
done it.
walking
There's
this
not a person
planet,
on this planet
past and present.
that hasn't done that. But just imagine how many grown children are not dealing with their moms or dads or anyone else, their aunts, their uncles,
Or dealing with them
that.
falsely.
Yeah,
What happens is a lot of young people that grow into adults wear a mask in front of their parents where their parents never truly know who they are or what they're really doing
that,
because of the standards that they have set upon those children.
that,
And the thing is, going back to that scenario in the store, so that's what happens when you blow up. Outside of them not wanting to talk to you or show you anything or let you know that they made a mistake or feel comfortable talking to you, the second thing is that becomes their inner voice. So when they make a mistake throughout life, they're going to belittle themselves, they're going to attack themselves, and that follows them. But let's rewind and say if you had just
and
had a conversation.
second guess themselves, which was the hold that I had. I second
Mm.
guessed myself on everything. I knew that when I was gonna make a decision, like Robert will tell y'all, before I make any decision, I done thought about it 7 different ways. I done thought of a plan A, B, C, and D, E, F, and G. If it don't go in these ways, I needed to be formulating a plan for just in case. So we exhaust all of those possibilities. I don't make any decision without flipping it around, bending it, and looking at it in so many different ways.
That's
Not
like the Cirque
one
du Soleil.
decision. I'm telling you, because I am a hyper thinker. I'm an overthinker. So part of that is that trauma from growing up and just feeling like I never made the right decisions. My mom, really, I'm the baby for her as well. And then I'm a girl as a baby. And so a lot of her trauma was passed down in how she reared me as well. And it was this protectiveness. Yes, in hindsight, I realized that she was just protective, but to a degree of fault. She just didn't want me experiencing certain things. It was a fear for her because she hadn't dealt with those things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But even in that, growing up constantly under that shadow, it just recently, maybe a year or two, got to the point where it was just like, I'm okay with if I don't get that acknowledgement or if I don't have your approval. It took me up until about a year or two ago. I am 38. I know I say I'm 25, but I'm really 38 years old. And it's taken this long for me to get to a point where I'm not second guessing my own decisions based on what I think my mom will feel or how I think she would think about those decisions. And I'm pushing back for the first time. And now we have a different kind of conversation because then she be kind of mad sometimes when I push back on stuff where I just be like, hey now,
But you push back.
you're crossing my boundary. And
Come
I
on,
say it
sis.
just like that. I say, Mama, I love you, I respect you, but you crossing my boundary. And
Draw that
I
line in
said
the
this,
sand.
and that's it. And she's getting more comfortable with, okay, but even still, her being, who she is, her being set in her ways, her being an elder, her being, they're very like, elders are very, what's the word I'm looking for? Anal when it comes to certain things, because that's how they're accustomed to doing it. And
Right.
so now
And
she's
they
starting
see you
to,
as that child that you were.
don't
So
matter
how
how
dare
old
you
I
not?
am,
Because you know what parents say. You know the saying. We
always
all
my
know the
baby.
saying.
You
Why
always
you
my
always my
baby.
baby? It's because I said so. Because
Oh,
I'm the mother. You do what
absolutely.
I say. And I say it so much, my son, listen, I say, you got to listen, baby. He told me the other day because I spilled some water on the floor. Because I tell him when we wash dishes, I'm like, keep the water. It's a detachable, so you can spray it and all that.
Right.
And so sometimes he'll pull it too much and then to go on the floor. And I'm like, baby, you got to keep it in the sink, not on the floor, in the sink. So I was rinsing off a big pot, and so I had to come over the edge a little bit. And he was like, Mom,
In the sink.
in the sink, you spilled water on the floor.
Get it in the
Keep it
sink.
And the sink. He said, you gotta listen, mommy. I said, you know what, baby, you absolutely right. Let me get this mop. I made a mess. What we gonna do? Clean it up? Absolutely. So let me clean this mop up. Let me get this mop, clean this
They
one
are
up.
little mirrors. They
You
are
know,
little mirrors.
and he's so used to me telling him that he said it back to me when I did what he did.
But
And you
you
know what?
also, what was the importance in you acknowledging that he called that out? How did that help him? Because back in my day, I know I'm getting old because I got to say, back in my
Back in
day,
my day.
you
You're
at
like, boy, don't you tell me I
look,
told you.
at 3, 13, 33, you better not correct your parent because
Because
that's
when I said
disrespectful.
go,
That's
I'm the
disrespectful.
adult.
How much did we hear do as I say, not as I do? Not me. I want my kids to do as I do. So if it's something I don't want them to do, I need to be the example in that. And so
Absolutely.
we absolutely, if we're going to break this curse, if we're going to repair our relationships with our elders and keep that repaired relationship going for our next generations,
And
because
shift when we become elders, because we will be
that's what
elders
I'm
one
talking
day.
about. Because I don't want my kids, I tell my kids even now, if that's the decision, I give them the opportunity within reason to make decisions for themselves. I may not like it, I may not agree with it. One of the hardest things, whether she knew it or not in that moment, because I was just super supportive, was for my baby to want to cut all her hair off to a mohawk fade, where it was just like, you want to cut it all off, because that was me holding on to my idea of what she needed to
But
hold
it's
on
her
for
head.
her, but it's her head. And
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, you sure? And she asked me a good 2 or 3 times before I actually was like, okay, tell me why you want to cut it off. And
But
so
that's a
she
perfect
explained it.
example, though,
Yes,
sis. That's a perfect example.
because that wasn't the vision I had for her. I loved
Mm-hmm.
her hair. I thought it was pretty and curly. Tired of combing it, and she wasn't handling it and doing what she needed to do to keep it as healthy as I like. So she wore a ponytail most of the time, and then she's tender headed, so she never wanted it combed. That was a whole battle in itself. So I was already struggling with trying to figure out how to have this image for her and this cute girl. That's my baby girl. And I had to let that go. Like, that's my ideology of what it means to be beautiful. And I have to teach her to find beauty in whoever she is, wherever she is in life, because she's going to change over time. Sometimes we're not going to be at our tippy top best. We women, we go through a lot with our bodies. We go through a lot with our hormones. So if I'm making a big deal about her hair, which is some stuff that can grow back and you can change it and be gone today, here tomorrow, I need to give her the space to do that. And that was a challenge for me because when I cut my hair, my mama to this day, she talks about all the work I put into your hair used to be down your back and you cut it.
But see, that's the thing. That's what we have to relinquish. That is not about us. Our children
It's
are
about
individuals
them.
and beings with their own thought processes,
Mhm.
and they should have autonomy over their body once they become a certain age. And at any age, they should have a certain amount of autonomy until they
Yes, they
truly
should.
understand and comprehend and be old enough to make full choices on their own. And that is what stops the second guessing and needing of approval. Is when I was 15, maybe. It's maybe my sophomore year. I've always had long hair. And I wanted to cut it off. Fantasia, was out, the little tight curls in the back, little
Yes.
hair. I had the Fantasia, you feel me? I had the Tasia, okay? And so I cut all my hair off my sophomore year. My mom loved it. She took me to go get it done, and never had a problem. So pretty much anything that I wanted to do, the only thing she had a problem with is I think and I was grown at that point, so I was like, oh, yeah.
What I do?
All right, I wanted it, so I got it. I because she didn't like the piercings. I had got my belly button pierced. She dealt with it. It was all right. But then I got my septum, and she really didn't like that because it was on my face, and she's just like. But I was like, but look, I got the septum. We can just flip up. It's there now. It's not. You know what I'm saying? And she felt better about that. But other than that, she was really supportive of our choices in general, our whole life. And those are, I think that built a confidence within me and my decision making that leads me to the person I am today, and me being able to be like, all right, I want to do this. You know what? I'm gonna go do it. I'll see you later. You know what I'm saying? Business wise and otherwise.
Fearlessness, I think, because that is a real important component. And what I like to tell my kids is that take the healthy risk. And the best way for them to learn to take those healthy risks is to do it with my safety net underneath them. So, and I tell them that all the time. Like, if you want to try this and you're not sure, do it now, because you have me to support you. And if it doesn't go right, I want them to learn the importance of taking healthy risks. We don't want them feeling fearless in everything, because not having that concept of danger is not healthy for them, right?
Right.
But we want them to understand what healthy risk taking means and what that looks like, because that's going
We
to
don't want
help
our
them
children
flourish.
afraid to live.
We don't want them afraid to live, but we don't want them also afraid to step out and try something different.
Hmm.
Try something new, because that may be their niche. There may be the thing that's going to make the imprint on the world that they're meant, the purpose they're meant to have here. But if we're making them second guess that, and we're instilling in them to be afraid to step out, I'm fighting against that as an adult. That's my self saboteur. That's my imposter syndrome that I have, and me constantly saying, you know what, I need to still do it. I need to do it scared. I need to make sure that even if I'm worried and I have to best have a plan A, B, and C, I'm still going out here and giving it my best effort. So allowing our kids, allowing our adult kids even still to make those choices, and just being, I see Evangelist Sharon said, to respect them and just be their counselors and their support. That is the best thing that you can do for your kids, especially once they become adults. And it doesn't mean that if your children as adults steer away from the path that you saw for them, or the things that you want for them, maybe you feel like this decision would be in their best interest. That's not your place to tell them that or to pressure them into that. But just let them know you're going to love them regardless. You're going to be there for them regardless, whatever decisions they're making. And especially if they're trying to make those decisions in betterment, just because it doesn't fit into your box, into your ideology, really need to let that go. And we need to love each other anyway, because that gap, before we know it, we're going to be completely out of touch. And we won't be having those conversations. And this is a curse that we need to break. We need to stop, and elders need to respect us too. We gonna respect y'all because
Right.
y'all
It's both
wait,
ways.
y'all have paid the way. Y'all have
Mhm.
made y'all dealt with things that we don't have to deal with now, because you did it for us. You opened the door, you kicked it open, and then you got rid of the brush, so we had a clear path to walk into that light. But
That's right.
let us do it. Let us do it and now make the path for the next, because although you don't see that it's a path, we may see something that you don't. And that was the goal anyway. That was for
And
us to
remembering that
be
you once were
intentional.
us.
You
And the
once
thing
were
is a lot of the times at our age, y'all was starting these businesses and institutions and families and everything else. So
mm-hmm.
it's really just remembering what you felt like when you were our age, what experiences you had, and the elders that you dealt with, and what you liked and what you didn't like or appreciate. And I think
Yes,
that's the
right with
thing.
you.
And
Yeah.
so when we break down, that's why I said at the beginning, we would be okay if everybody could just remove the ego. It's not about one upping, it's not about having control. It's about communicating with each other, learning from each other, because we are in this generation. Okay. You are from that one. Can we come together and take the best of that one? And I can give you the best of this to help you understand, or you help me understand what y'all did, and we're going to move forward. And that's the component that is being lost the most with this gap is you have information I need, and I can help you navigate this world that we in now, because it's quickly changing every day.
Here's the most important part, is that if we're battling each other, where does that leave the next generation? Because they're going to be witnessing that gap. And then we're going to be repeating the same mistakes. So we all need to kind of pretty much check that ego. We all need to be mindful of how important it is for us to stay connected, because it really does flow into the next generation. And so when y'all saying like these kids have no respect, think about why. Like, really do some self-reflection and understand that even this plays a role in it, that kids are bucking against the system. They have
Mhm.
felt controlled, they have felt reduced, they have felt
Mhm.
unheard, they are angry, they are
Yep.
bitter. And so as a result, they are taking it out on us. And this is how they are reacting to it. This is why
And
they
that
feel so
also
captured.
comes from that lack of conversation. Like you said earlier, when you had that moment when your daughter had a tutor, you was like, I think I'm supposed to fight. Instead of fighting, instead of sending her to her room or whatever, you had a conversation with her because you probably remembered what you were going through at that
It
age.
was all of that. It was all of that. And then just recognizing that she was going through something.
And
And it didn't have nothing to do
imagine
with me.
how different that would have gone if you didn't just have that conversation. If you would have
Yeah,
cussed out or sent her to a room or put her on punishment, that would have just made it worse, and you would have never got to the bottom of what was actually going on or what she was experiencing. Kids are gonna rebel.
absolutely.
Just expect that. Kids are
Absolutely.
not going to listen sometimes. Just expect that. Kids
Yeah.
are going to go through things that you have no idea about because you're not in their pocket every day. Expect that. But also be open enough to move out of your tunnel vision as a parent to look at them. A lot of times we don't really look at our children to say, whoa,
Nope. That
it's
and that
in
goes back
past.
to their property aspect of feeling like we are due a certain level of this or that without understanding that it didn't have anything to do with me. And when I
Mhm.
realized like her mood in that moment, it wasn't about me. She wasn't seeing that that's my mama and I gotta disrespect my mama and show her who's boss. It wasn't about that. It was I'm in a mood, I'm hurting, something's bothering me. I
That's
don't
those
know.
four agreements, sis.
That's it. And so it wasn't about me. And how that incident earlier today ended, it ended with me saying, "What's wrong? Let's talk about it." And her sitting in my lap and just wanting to be held because she was going through something. And so now she's better. She, walking around here listening to
And
a man.
sometimes we don't have the words, especially when we're
Sometimes we
young.
don't.
We don't have the words. And it's okay because sometimes as adults we don't have the
I was about
words.
to say that. I'm speechless sometimes and I'm extra grown. I'm 25, you know.
You
I'm,
know,
I'm 25.
but and that's that part. Like, but now that you've opened that door of understanding, of conversation, of kindness, she knows that next time, maybe if she does have the words, instead of stumping around, or if she catches herself stumping around, she could come like sit down. Okay, you know what, mom? Look, this happened today, and I'm just all
I'm
right.
just yeah. I'm just not in that space.
You know, and
Well,
being able to accept that, because that's a whole nother part. If you tell a parent that, like, "Mom, I'm just not in the mood right now," what you mean you not in the mood right
ooh,
now?
you ain't in the mood. Oh, you think you my mama? Like, like no, I'm just saying, like I can't even.
Like right
I don't
now,
want
it's
to
a
say
lot,
no.
and
Listen,
we
I'm
gotta
just
be able
saying
to
it's a lot.
understand that and be like, "All right, you know what? Let's check back at 15." Okay, like
Give
it's
me
okay.
give me 20 minutes to kind of collect myself, right? So I know I promised that this was going to be a shorter show. We're going to cut it here, and but we need closing thoughts. So if you have some closing thoughts, some things that you want to release in this generational curse. This is a new part of what we want to hear from y'all. We are going to release this curse. We're going to break the curse, y'all. And
Release.
this is how we're going to break the curse. If you have something that you're trying to break away from when it comes to that elder adultism, right? When they are treating us less than and they're controlling us, put it in the comments and we're going to let it go. Like after we
Let it
said,
go.
we're going to break the curse. We're going to move forward and we're going to make the connections moving forward to strengthen our relationships. But while you all do that, sis, closing thoughts. What's your closing thought on elders? Got to give respect to.
Man, to be honest, again, just going back to what I said, we need each other. And I say this a lot in a lot of the conversation when we would have the men women conversation. We need each other. Young old conversation. We need each other. Light skin, dark skin. We need each other. It don't matter straight or otherwise. We need each other. Okay, we are better together. And so we have to realize that the divide that's happening in the way we move and interact with our parents and our children is due to generational curses and trauma. And we have to heal and get to the root of it. And if we do not, it's just going to continue to move down through the generations and hinder us as a whole and as a collective, not just your household or your family line, but as a community overall. It needs to stop because we need each other. The elders have information that we absolutely need to know. And the young people have ideas, and we're gifted and blessed by God with things to be here. With these babies are coming out smarter and smarter every day with gifts and talents out the yin yang. If we don't appreciate and see and help them find their purpose, then we're doing them a disservice. And so they have something that we need to nurture. They also have things to teach us, because if you parenting right, your kids teach you too.
I'm trying to tell you that part right there, because we didn't touch on that. I've learned so much from my kids about me. I've learned so much from my kids about the world. They give me a different perspective because they're experiencing the world differently than I'm experiencing the world. We're not having the same experiences on this planet. It's not equal. And so it's different. And when I'm allowing them the opportunity and the space for me to see it through their eyes, I'm becoming a better person each and every time. So that was a component that we didn't discuss, but I'm so glad you brought it up, sis. We learn from each other. I'm learning from my kids. They are teaching me every day about things. And some of it may be some social media and technology stuff because I'm
That's
realizing
necessary
that,
though.
just like I teach my mom and help my mom and dad with that stuff. So we're learning so much from one another. Thanks for bringing it up, sis, because it's a very important component that we don't shed light on. Is that it doesn't have to be that tug of war, just that learning from one another. But I interrupted your thought. Go ahead before I give my final thought. Finish up. I'm quiet now. I'm zipping up.
No, I mean, it's so important that we realize that if you're doing it right, like if you're open, I'll say that. If you're open, you will find that you learn so much from your children, and that they, of course, they're learning from you because you're their first teachers. And you want to make sure that you're pouring in good things. And you also want to take note when they're showing you that you're not, because they'll show you, you know? And so with that, we need each other. And if we don't bridge that gap, and this is actually why I made my documentary last year, At Their Feet, because our elders do have so much to give and we're missing it. And if they leave the planet Earth without us getting that information, it's gone. Unless you tapped in and meditating through the ethers, it's gone. And we cannot have that, because we need everything that we can to, again, continue down the path that we need to be on. So we need to work together, and we have to remove ego on both parts and know that everybody has something to bring to the table.
Facts. I couldn't agree more with that. You are so on the head with that, and we need each other. So absolutely bridging that gap that we have right now is super important. I'm just gonna piggyback just a little bit off it, but also add a little something different to it. Is that it's not about you. It's not about reducing or not acknowledging your struggle, the things that the ways that you paid for us to be who we are today. But it's also about me finding a new way, me trying to correct the things that weren't always right back then, so that we can get better from generation to generation. I grew up hearing from my mom and my father that I want you to be better than I was. In order for us to do that, we have to make the space for our next generation, for our adult generation now, to experience the world different, to try something new, to make new pathways. So we don't have this one rigid way of doing things, because honestly, it stifles us. It puts us in this box and it doesn't allow for us to reach the potential that we actually can, because we're so stuck in doing it this way. So making other alternate paths is going to advance us further than we think. And we need to give each other the space to do that. And one of my hopes is that when my kids are adults, I keep telling them I'm gonna be that parent and mind my business. Like, unless you really doing some out of line, out of character stuff where it's gonna be retraced back to me, and somebody gonna look at you and say, "Your mama messed you up." I'm a mind my business. Like, it ain't none of my business. If that's what you want to do, listen, I may not agree with it, but it ain't none of my business. And I think that we could benefit for that if we're approaching it that way. Because as Nat said, we need each other. If we're not communicating, if we're not sharing the wisdom, if we're not reaching back and reaching forward, we're going to lose touch. We have to be meeting each other in the middle there. We have to be there in this together. And if we do that, we're only going to get better. We're only going to get stronger. So let's break that curse, y'all. Let that go. That respect is reciprocated. If we want
Yeah.
reciprocity in this,
Yeah.
I will respect you because I know what you've done for me. I know what you were up against to make it happen for me. And make sure that you understand that I'm still making adjustments that benefit you too for years in the future to come
Yeah.
because we're all connected. So I'm glad to be back, sis. I missed. Oh, we gonna talk. I missed y'all. They showed up tonight, sis. They
Yes. Hey, y'all.
yes.
They
I'm
missed us
so
too.
glad. Yes, honey. And so be looking for the
Yes.
announcement for those of you that missed it. Nat it will be having her show with Rodney G. Go ahead and plug it one more time, sis, for our watchers.
Yes, for sure. So starting this Monday, the 18th, and every Monday after from 7 to 9 p.m. on WNU Ray 99.9 and RayNeilMedia.com, you can find me, your girl, Miss Natalie B, live on Getting Jazzy with Miss Natalie B and Rodney G. It is a jazz and conversation show, and our first guest on the show, because we'll be doing not-for-profit highlights and community activists. We'll be doing musician highlights, artist highlights, business highlights, and live jam sessions, and a whole lot of other great things. So our first guest is a business highlight, and it is Carlisa Thomas, the Purple Ribbon Chef, which we know and love, talking about Domestic Violence Month this month of October, and talking
Yes.
about her business and how it all ties together. So y'all be on the lookout for that. So again, WNU Ray 99.9 every Monday from 7 to 9.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I wanted to plug because I promised that I would plug one of our favorite reoccurring guests that's been on the show. He came before, he talked about the marshmallow pit down at the end of the thing. And we was like, ain't nobody jumping off no mountain into
We
no
need to know.
marshmallow pit is below. We ain't doing
Because
that.
if I need to build a backup rope or something,
I'm not doing
I
that.
need to know
No
what I need
marshmallow
to
pit.
do.
I need to know. But he is having a free spoken word show. So I will be plugging that and resharing that on all the pages. Geronimo, yes, an amazing spoken word artist. He's out here flying around all over the place. I see you out there. I'm watching you, brother. I'm proud of you. I'm rooting for you. And so he's putting on a free spoken word show. There's going to be some really dope artists there. And so if you guys are into that and you're looking to just come out and chill, it's an in-person show. Be looking for the info on that. Come out, hear some poetry. If you know me, you know I love poetry. I write. I've been trying to get my poetry out there. I ain't shared none on the show. So I may have to do we gonna talk episode healing through written word and healing through written art and having some dope artists like Chanel come on, who's the
Got
poetic storyteller.
to.
Having some of these amazing spoken word artists because poetry is really therapeutic. At least it's for me. It's one of my joys. It was one of my first loves was to touch a pen to paper and write art. And so we definitely want to support Geronimo out there. So be looking out for more information on that show. It's upcoming this month. And we're also having, so I don't know if I talk enough about STM Surviving the Mic. I am part of the Surviving the Mic team. And there at Surviving the Mic, we are uplifting the voices of survivors and we're doing it through writing. And so there will be an amazing event that we call How I Survive that Carlisa will also be our featured artist for in
Hey.
respect to DVAM, which is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So wear your purple, which hints purple chef. She's a survivor, y'all. She's a
She's
survivor.
a survivor.
She's
She
a
ain't
survivor.
gonna give up. She ain't gonna stop. She gonna work harder.
That. So be looking out for new events and read a new book, y'all. I've been like doing audio books. I've been reading books again. I've been
The
reading. That's
Four
listening to myself.
Agreements
Here
is a
she go.
really good one.
This
Here she
please,
go.
y'all.
If y'all just, I mean, a real short read, change your life. I'm just saying, no.
I have it in my audio book, so I'm gonna read that next. I just finished Gabrielle Union's book, and it was phenomenal. For You Got Anything Stronger was really really good, and so for those of you that are interested, definitely check it out. I did it on audio book, and it was a really good listen. So check that out, and yeah, we'll be
Oh,
back next week.
wait,
Great,
sis. Hold
but
up. You know I'm always coming in at the buzzer. What's up?
okay, what's that?
Always coming in at the buzzer. For those of you who are available, the Healing Academy is back with some more amazing programming. Whoop it, whoop it. So our online programming, consistent daily posts, and the Breathe experience will be back starting next week. Yes, right. And Free Your Mind Fridays. Whoop, whoop, whoop. We'll be back. So I'm excited about that. And on this Saturday, the 16th, at 12 noon, from 12 to 1, we will have a art panel discussion with collectors. And so on December 11th, we will be holding our first annual gala and art auction for the Healing Academy. And so I'll be sharing more information about that soon.
Wait. I got a question because
Yes.
I'm still hot that I didn't get a Dion Victoria original.
Yes.
Are we gonna have some Dion Victoria original?
There will be.
Because listen, girl, because when she had painted that painting for the live virtual event for the second year anniversary, and I bought my ticket, I just kind of knew I was gonna win that piece.
You was manifested.
I had already picked out where it was going to go. And somehow or another, you pulled it, and the ticket didn't have my name on it. I'm not sure how that quite
How did
happened.
that happen?
Yeah, I'm
Girl, you gotta come to this auction and get you one, sis.
I definitely want my Dion Victoria original. Dion, you watching? You watching, honey? I need my stuff. I had it
And
all.
we got a lot of amazing artists. So Dion Victoria is definitely one of them. We have a ton of amazing artists, and so we are having an advanced selective collector's choice viewing called the Collector's State of Mind. And so we'll have a few Chicago prominent collectors come out and take a advanced viewing of the artwork, select some of their favorites in different categories, and then we're going to have a live conversation at that event where those collectors will actually be there to answer questions about collecting, talk about their journey with collecting, the artwork that's on display, and then why collecting art is important, specifically collecting Black arts and our culture, why that is important. So it's going to be a great conversation. We have Randis Hopkins, who just dropped an amazing educational book, What College Did or What School Didn't Teach Us About Money and Finance. I might be messing up the name of that book, but it's a really good one. It just dropped, and I pre-ordered that joint, okay? So he will be there. He will be talking about the book. He was talking about collecting art. One of Chicago's prominent collectors, Talmadge Mason, an amazing photographer. So if you guys are on my page and you see any of my recent videos, all of them are one photographer, Tony. So he will be there. He is a photographer, artist, musician, filmmaker, and collector, and he will be there on the panel as well. So that is Saturday the 16th at 12, from 12 to 1. So it's virtual. So if you guys have time, head on over to the Healing Academy Facebook page and check out that 1 hour conversation and get some ends on art collecting, y'all. Yes. And get excited about the gala in December.
We will be doing a better job of posting all the events and all of the things that we want to connect to, want you to connect to, because we're all out here doing some amazing things. And I got a real good stern talking to just a few weeks weeks ago, I was reading at the Lit Fest downtown, and I didn't share this news with anyone. And my sister-in-law was like, "What is wrong with you? Like, why are
Oh
you not?
yeah,
You should have been screaming this out from the rooftops. Like,
you see
are
me
you
over here.
are you serious?" So I'm gonna work on that, y'all, of trying to do better and just really plugging and giving you guys a heads up of all the other wonderful things that we're all doing as a community, positive things that we're all out here doing as a community. So be looking for more info on that and staying in tune with what's happening. So I'm glad to be back. We'll be back same bat
And we
time.
see y'all, and we
We see
appreciate
y'all.
y'all. Come on in the comments. We see you, Gino.
We see
That's our
you,
baby
Mr.
daddy.
Milton.
We see you,
Yes,
Mr. Milton.
we
Auntie
see
Kenya, Miss
y'all.
Brown.
We see
Call y'all.
y'all. I am between topics, so I will be posting the next topic. I had a lot of on my mind about some things that were going on that is very much a generational curse, and also connecting very closely to what's been happening. I know we've had the sexual abuse talk already, but just with everything that's been going on with R. Kelly's sentencing and just all of that, and some of the brokenness I'm still seeing within our community about stuff, and just really wanting to share some light on why it hurts to still support people that are hurting us within the community and how Black girls matter. And so I'm in between topics on that, and then having this submission conversation, y'all, because I'm like, we just listened, and the submission conversation is really strongly going to weigh heavily on if I could have a really important guest that Nikki Patan, she joined us really briefly when we had our sexual abuse conversation, but she schooled me a little bit on some things about submission in a way that I just was like, I never thought about it that way. You're right. And so when I told her we were going to have this conversation because I needed her to bring that knowledge into the fold, she said, well, when it happens, I want to be there. So we will be having that conversation soon. If not next Wednesday, it's a coming. And so just be looking out this week for our next topic. And we're going to get out of here, y'all, because I'm old and I'm tired. I was tired. I was worked hard today. And I need
still unpacking.
Oh, I'm still unpacking.
But congratulations on my new space.
I guess thanks. I haven't even been able to actually enjoy it yet because as we speak, there's a whole 4 boxes in my kitchen unpacked. There's 3 in this here living room. The struggle is real. The only thing that's
Are you putting those babies to work or no?
They already got their room situated for the most part.
I'm talking about the rest of the house.
I'm particular. See, like I'm particular. You see, I got my people set up here. These are all my friends.
You ain't let them help you set up the people's
squad. Listen, they know don't touch my friends. My pop characters. I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd. I don't think people know just how deep my nerd runs, but I'm a super nerd, and I don't let people know just how nerdy I am. But yeah, I'm nerdy. So like I dust my friends, I talk to my friends. I mean, not really. I don't be expecting them like to talk back or nothing like that.
Just like say what's up every once in a while.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what's up, y'all? Y'all good, y'all? Dustin, like that. I don't like talk to them. I'm gonna get up off here now.
So, have you ever seen My Block on Netflix?
Of course I have. It's a dope show.
The Nomies in them.
Look, he be talking to them Nomies. That's a really good show. If y'all have not seen it, he's actually my favorite character on there. He tickles me. If y'all ain't watched that, y'all need to definitely watch that show. It's pretty amazing. Before we go though, was watching this whole Squid Games. Did you watch the Squid Game?
Not. I refuse.
You gotta watch the Squid Game.
I refuse. Have you seen Blood and Water?
I'm not. So I'm in the middle of the second season. So I'm gonna come back to that.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about that.
Put a pin in it.
I'm in the middle of the second season, so I'm not there yet. But we're gonna hop off here, y'all, because then we do this every Wednesday.
We'll be talking. Y'all gets off. We gets off of Facebook, but we be on here about 12 o'clock in the morning.
We be on here, be at work red-eyed, tired, can't
We
function.
gotta do an after-hour show for everybody else who gets off.
Oh,
They can
hold on.
go and then
That
come back.
is gonna talk. We gonna talk about that. That is gonna happen when we gonna have grown folks talk. Oh, we gonna have grown folks talk.
Oh, grown folks.
Grown folks talk. Like grown folks talk. We're gonna have
Grown.
some different type of, because generational curses aren't always this heavy. Some of them is just like we need to break that curse. And we talk about them, very mildly in certain circles on the show, but we need to dive deeper in some of that. So, we gonna talk. We gonna talk more about that. But I'm about to get out
later.
I'm tired. Look, did somebody say your cousin? My cousin said, "Cause your eyes ain't even open." I just got little white eyes.
She said they just
What we
small.
doing? That's my cousin, and see, she ain't respecting her elder because I'm older, and she respecting me. They just tight. I just got little eyes, y'all. When I'm happy, they get smaller. Why you
And
gotta
Gino said you ain't old, because if you old, he old and he ain't old.
Gino is not old. He's smooth. You
That's
right,
what
Gino.
he said. He said he ain't old, so you ain't.
I'm 25. I'm still a baby.
Both of y'all some spring chickens out here.
Yes,
okay?
yes.
And I'm still 15 apparently.
My knees don't say that though. I'm about to go put some WD-40 on them when I get up from this chair. Some WD-40. They get to creaking.
It's okay, since we're gonna get you for some sunrise yoga.
Oh, okay, yeah. No, we're not doing the
afternoon yoga.
I did the yoga once.
Yoga.
I did yoga once, and for those of you that don't do yoga for real, you have no idea. Yoga is hard. It is not for the faint of heart. You think yoga is just these stretches. It looks pretty when you see people doing like, oh, it just looks so zen. I did yoga, and like for 2 weeks after that, I was not okay physically.
But I was not okay.
It's not okay. Me and my best friend, we went and we did yoga, and I think in hindsight, because we were like, were we not in the beginners class?
Yeah, I might have been in the advanced lessons.
Listen, I ain't never sweated like that in my life. Okay, I've ran on the treadmill.
I did hot yoga in New Orleans.
Bless your heart.
I made it.
I'm proud of you.
I was really proud.
I'm proud of you.
Because when I got in that room and she closed the door, as soon as I sat out on the mat, I was like, damn, I don't know.
Girl, ain't nothing like that. I'm trying to tell you that when you realize that you done agreed to some stuff that you weren't really sure on what you agreed to, and then you realize, like, what was I thinking? That's how I felt about waxing, child. I was just like,
that first strip come out, you like, what did I sign up for?
That first strip, I was off the table, almost broke legs and necks and everything else. The poor lady was like, you still have wax? I was like, look, I'm gonna need a minute because
I'm out.
I'm gonna need a minute. They don't tell you.
They throwing these red flags on Facebook.
Look, flag. Look, the wax. When you can't tell if it really makes a noise or if it's just a feeling, that's a red flag. We gonna get off here, y'all. Good night, y'all. We see y'all next week.